A Prince of Swindlers, by Guy Boothby. Chapter 3. The Duchess of Wiltshire's Diamonds. Simon Carne arrived by the Continental Express at Victoria Station on Wednesday, the 3rd of May. He was warmly greeted by the ex-Viceroy, the Earl of Amberley, who had come to meet him. Wrapped in a long fur coat and followed by his Indian servants, Carne appeared every inch the polished man of the world. "How kind of you, Lord Amberley," Carne said, smiling as he took his friend's hand. "A fine day and an even finer welcome. May I hope that you will drive back with me and see for yourself how I am likely to be lodged?" "I shall be delighted," replied Lord Amberley. As they made their way toward Park Lane, Carne's keen eyes caught a number of posters along the roadside. "Who is this Klimo?" he asked, casually. "At Victoria, and on every billboard we passed, I saw enormous placards bearing only that name." Amberley laughed. "You really have been out of England too long. Klimo is a private detective. A series of daring robberies struck the city recently, and the police were powerless. But Klimo solved every case, and now he's the talk of London. Half the city has visited him." He smiled and added, "But, there, I expect you will soon know more about him than any of us. Your Portchester house lies next door to his." Carne's brows lifted slightly. "Indeed. That is unfortunate. Private detectives make the worst sort of neighbors. The agents who found me the house should have informed me." Amberley dismissed his concern with a smile, but Carne's expression had hardened slightly as their carriage turned into Belverton Street. "I trust he will not prove a nuisance," he said at last. That night, Carne's true life revealed itself behind locked doors. In his dressing room, he straightened to his full height. The habitual slouch vanished. A wig replaced his own hair. Whiskers were fixed. Middle-class clothing was donned. Within minutes, Carne had become someone else entirely. He had become Klimo. His valet, the ever-reliable Belton, slid aside the back panel of a large wardrobe. Behind it was a narrow opening into the adjacent house. Carne passed through. Minutes later, the man the world knew as Klimo was seated in his study, ready to receive visitors. By 2 o'clock, he had seen a dozen clients, taken his customary fees, and vanished once more through the secret passage into his own home. As dawn rose over London, Simon Carne, once more the stooped gentleman of modest stature, began to implement his plan to conquer the capital. Thanks to Lord Amberley's introduction, London society warmly welcomed the interesting newcomer from India. He accepted invitations with grace, hosted dinners at Portchester House with effortless charm, and all the while moved unseen through the darker channels of the city, sharpening the edge of his plans. The Duchess of Wiltshire's diamonds were the glittering prize. Carne knew their worth, 300 flawless stones beyond price. The Duchess herself, fascinated by Carne's knowledge of art, had shown them to him, nestled in a richly ornate wooden case. They were a difficult challenge. When she wears them, they are untouchable, he mused alone in his study night after night. When she does not, the case is locked, sealed in a safe, and watched through the night. Days passed. Then, inspiration struck. He summoned Guy Boothby, the most skilled craftsman in his household. "Look at this," Carne said, handing him a sketch of the jewel case. "Can you construct a false bottom, spring-triggered, that snaps into place, hiding everything inside once the box is locked?" The craftsman studied the drawing, his dark eyes gleaming. "If my lord permits me until morning," he said softly, "I shall return with an answer." By dawn, the answer was yes. Carne proceeded carefully. At a dinner given by Lady Amberley, he offered to help the Duchess of Wiltshire obtain a piece of china she had long admired. Then, almost as an afterthought, he asked to borrow her jewel case, empty, for illustrations for a book he was writing on Eastern design. The case itself, he explained, was a unique example of craftsmanship. The Duchess agreed at once. "On the day of my ball, I shall wear the necklace and will not need the case until later," she said. On the morning of the ball, Carne arrived at Wiltshire House to collect the empty casket. Hours later, in his study, Guy Boothby and Hiram Singh worked under his eye. By early evening, the case was ready. A perfect trap. Carne tested it with a string of paste diamonds. The false bottom closed silently, swallowing the imitation gems without trace. He returned it that night, arriving early at the ball. "I could not rest until I returned it myself," he told the Duchess, bowing over her hand. "Before it goes, allow me to show that I've done it no harm, externally or internally," he added with a charming laugh. He lifted the lid. The case appeared untouched. The Duchess thanked him warmly and had the box sent upstairs to her dressing room. The following morning, London awoke to the news. The Wiltshire diamonds were gone. Lord Amberley arrived at Porchester House, pale and visibly shaken. "Carne, it is the most extraordinary thing. After the ball, the necklace was returned to the case, locked by Wiltshire himself, and placed in the safe. And yet this morning, when they opened it, empty. Not a stone remains." Carne listened with apparent dismay. How dreadful! And what now? "They want Klimo," said Amberley. "Wiltshire was for Scotland Yard, but his wife and I persuaded him otherwise." After Amberley left, Carne rang for Belton. "Well?" he asked. "I followed your instructions," said Belton. "I wrote to the Piccadilly agents as Colonel Braithwaite and arranged to view the empty house next to Wiltshire House. Yesterday morning, dressed as a retired officer, I went. Once upstairs and alone, I used the walking stick with the boot attached, just as you showed me, and left a trail of prints in the dust along the parapet." He paused. "From there, I went to the pawnbroker, the one you said was out of town. I asked after the owner, hinted I had diamonds to sell, and made sure to complain about needing to go to Amsterdam." Carne nodded, satisfied. "And after?" "I disappeared." At noon, Klimo paid a visit to Wiltshire House. Half an hour alone in the room with the safe, with the jewel case, a magnifying glass, some theatrical flair. And the detective's findings were complete. The thief entered from the adjoining house, he declared. He clambered along the parapet. You'll find his trail in the dust. Afterwards, he likely attempted to sell the jewels in the city. Scotland Yard confirmed the footprints. Witnesses testified that a retired army officer had viewed the property on the morning of the theft. The police discovered that an individual answering the description had visited a pawnbroker's shop in the city about an hour later, and stated that he had diamonds to sell. The Wiltshire diamond mystery was solved. The Duke was satisfied. The thief, it was believed, would soon be arrested in Amsterdam. London congratulated itself on Klimo's genius. That night at dinner in Porchester House, Lord Amberley raised his glass. To Klimo, he said, "May he always be so successful." Carne smiled faintly, the famous Wiltshire necklace locked away in his private safe. To Klimo, he echoed. And his connection with the Duchess's diamonds.